Hello, darkness, my old friend. You've come to kick me in the nuts again. Thought we had it with some brilliant keeping, but a living these jokers are stealing. And there were trophies that we thought we could win in the bin. Just no hope for United. Welcome back, everyone. You know, I didn't really want to do the stream. I'm that frustrated, that just kind of dejected. I actually flipped a coin. You know, heads, I do the match reaction. Tails, I smash my nuts with a ball peen hammer. Honestly, couldn't tell you which one would be more painful. In any case, self-masochist I am. I'm here to recap the 1-1 draw against Fenerbahce in our third match of the Europa League campaign. And I told you guys it was going to be 1-1. I called that, didn't I? I knew it was just going to be one of those deals. There was not as much shithousery, but there was some shithousery from Jose. A lot of just little niggling challenges, a lot of, you know, Fenerbahce players going down whenever somebody looked at them. And obviously Jose got himself sent off. I mean, the guy is gold in terms of football comedy, but we're here today to do our match reaction, to get your thoughts, your opinions. Sounds like everybody's already pretty vocal. You know, if you can't laugh, you'll cry. And apparently, if you can't sing, you'll cry. So I want to look at some of the highlights. I'm going to run through both halves and kind of just point out some of the big moments. I want to hear a little bit of what Tenhag had to say. Obviously, of course, as always, I want to get your reaction, your thoughts, your opinions. Your opinions on Tenhag, your opinion on the match, your opinion on the Europa League campaign, and our season as a whole. So like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are on the road to 2K, and I know I forgot to mention it. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but if you guys do want to, for some odd reason, if you just like burning money apparently, and you want to go get a United jersey or any football jersey, and you want to get $5 off your order, use that code in the link in the description when you register with GoGoalShop. You will get $5 off. It does work. Dylan, you guys remember Dylan? He used it, got himself a long sleeve of this year's blue strip, and it looks beautiful. So go ahead and get that registered. Let's see what everybody's jumping in the chat. Justin, good morning, my guy. Everybody wish Justin a happy belated birthday. It was his birthday. What was that, yesterday? No, it was Wednesday was his birthday. Dude's getting old. Danny B in the house. Big up, my guy. Danny B says, I'm officially Erik ten Hag out. Can't back him anymore. Says, Anthony Sub done it for me. That was straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah. Not a good look. We're going to jump into that. Obviously, I'm going to share my big thoughts, but I want to hear yours. So starting with the starting 11, what were you guys' thoughts on the starting 11? Mazraoui in the 10 was probably the biggest shocker. I know Danny's talking about, you know, Anthony Sub. I think that for me, playing Mazraoui in the 10 when you've got Eriksen there, Casemiro on the bench, you've got Ahmad there as well. Could have even, honestly, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but going in, you probably could have even tried to maybe try Xerxes. I mean, Ten Hag was talking about, like, if that's an experiment, we're trying to do something a little unorthodox. Why not try the Xerxes-Højlund combination experiment there? I didn't quite get that at all. Just didn't make sense to me. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little later on. But you guys let me know your thoughts on the starting 11. Any surprises, anything that just made you rage when you saw it? I know nobody really knew what to expect when we saw Mazraoui in there and not really, and no Casemiro. For a second, I thought that the predicted lineup was wrong with Mazraoui in the 10. I thought Mazraoui was actually in the pivot and Eriksen was in the 10. But lo and behold, our front two, pressing-wise, off the ball, was Mazraoui and Xerxes, which just was not good at all. So first half, like I said, Fenerbahce pressed. They were pressing us on the ball. They were pressing Onana a bit. Onana was giving me a little bit of heart palpitations, holding onto the ball very, very, very too long, just inviting that pressure. And really, all that does is just allow Fenerbahce to move forward to any of his passing options. So when Onana did finally decide to move the ball, the players that he was trying to pick out were already under pressure. It was just not, he was just too slow in general. Justin says, yeah, strange with Mazraoui and Bruno spot. Yeah, I didn't get that. We didn't really press on our end until Fenerbahce got the ball into wider areas. And we know we've seen that in the past when we played in that 4-2-4 pressing formation, that we like to force the opposition to put it into the fullbacks, and then we press those zones. And we did see that a little bit. It just, the press, because of Mazraoui and Xerxes, just wasn't on. Xerxes just, I don't know what's going on with Xerxes. You guys let me know. There's no point in the long balls too. So Onana was holding onto the ball and then just playing. Like, what's the point of holding onto the ball if you're just going to kick it long? Xerxes wasn't winning any of those aerial duels. He wasn't doing anything. I think he won like one aerial duel the whole match. Like, if you're going to kick it long, you need to release it quicker so we can at least get a counterattack on. And it didn't matter, like I said, winning it long, because not only was Xerxes not really winning balls, but we have struggled for years. And to be fair to Tenhag, this isn't just a Tenhag thing, but we struggled to win the second ball. We weren't really winning any of them. Nobody was following that up. Nobody was kind of anticipating that. Nobody was getting onto those little things. Thought we had a good counterattack goal for our opener. Mazraoui nearly fucked it up, though, with just a bad ball. But thankfully, Xerxes picked out Eriksson. It would have been very easy for Xerxes to want to force that situation and try to get the shot off himself because of just the goal drought, his struggling right now. It would have been very easy for him, especially being a younger striker, being new, to want to maybe prove himself, want to get on the goal. But fair play to him for seeing that Eriksson was in a better position. I wish that more of our players would do that. Just see who's in the better position instead of just lashing it. And so I thought that was really good from Xerxes. Thought Ugarte did really well to start that play, winning the ball back and kind of helping launch that attack. Again, I thought Ugarte had a good match. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Onana, I thought, again, just a little too slow to move the ball. He's just holding on to it a little too long in general. We were just inviting the press, forcing ourselves into risky, sloppy situations. But then Onana kind of redeemed himself a little bit with that double save. That was a beautiful bit of keeping from him, as I alluded to in my intro song. But that was like the 37th minute. So it was good. It was getting us out of trouble. We were causing little problems. And you know that's the way Jose Mourinho's side are going to play. They're going to put balls in the box. He's got those big strikers. Thought Dalot did not have a great match either. He just kept going missing. Every time that Fenerbahce would start attacking, I didn't know where Dalot was nowhere to be found. And you could tell that Rashford was getting frustrated, having to not only help press because Xerxes and Mazraoui weren't really doing well, but then also having to backtrack and fill in for Dalot, who just was ghosting the whole match. Left that right flank exposed over and over again, which is not what you want to do with Alan Saint-Maximin on the wing. He was already causing Dalot trouble in one-on-ones. The last thing you want to do is just give him time and space on the ball. I didn't think Dalot and Xerxes had a good first half at all. Xerxes, again, a little too slow to get around the pitch, a little too slow to press. You could tell that Garnacho and Rashford were getting frustrated with him. He wasn't releasing the ball well. When he did release it, it was really overhit. It's all up here right now with Xerxes. He's just, something's off. And I'm not saying that there's something long-term. It's just, he's overwhelmed. He's losing focus. He's making stupid errors. He's doubting himself. You can tell when you're holding onto the ball a little too long, it's just a lack of self-confidence. When you're playing the ball too heavy, like you did to Rashford, it's rushing, and that's something I tell people all the time. I was just talking to Justin about this the other day. We were talking about some indoor stuff. Like, you got to calm down. You got to just chill for a second. So not a good look. What do you guys have to say here? Danny B says, we have to talk about Dalot. He's costing us too much defensively. This goes back to the previous season too. I don't think he's good enough. See, and the thing is, like, I do think, I hear you, and I'm not saying you're wrong. And Dalot has not been great this last month or so. I hear you. I don't think he's a bad player. I think that Dalot is suffering, in my opinion, from the same thing that like Rashford's suffering and some of these other players who have been here a while are suffering from. There's too much change over the course of their tenure here. There's too much rotation in managers, too much change going on at so many different levels. That's why we haven't seen any of these players who have been here for a while develop individually. Rashford's still making the same mistakes. Dalot, his final ball is atrocious. He loses concentration a bit too much in defense. He's out of position a lot. Like, too much change, too much turnover in these managers. These players have played under Mourinho, Ragnick, Ollie, now Tenhag. And there's a correlation there. I've told you there's that book behind me, Edge by Ben Littleton. There's a whole chapter in there about manager turnover rate and how it negatively impacts individual player development. And we're seeing a lot of that right now. I'm not saying that that's some way gets Dalot off the hook, like you're saying, Danny, like he's struggled. I don't think that it makes him a bad player personally, because I do think Dalot is a good player. I just think there are aspects of his game that I haven't seen him improve since he's been here, and it's starting to cost us a little bit, like you're saying. Justin says, it also seems like we should have started Højlund and Cass. Yeah, I think that, like we're talking about the starting 11, it didn't make sense to me. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few moments, but it just didn't seem like the right time to make these kind of changes and to rotate. I think he needed, like, it was kind of like the Porto match when Ten Hag said he took off Rashford because we have a big match against Villa. Like, focus on the match now. Try to get the 3 points. Put out your strongest side before you start focusing on anything else, before you start experimenting, before you start trying to play people into form. You can't afford to do that right now. We're not sitting top of the Europa League table. We're not sitting in the top. We're not even sitting in the top half of the Premier League table. We can't afford to make those kind of experiments. Danny agrees with you, Justin. Says, I wanted to see Cass Ugarte in mid to short the counter. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Casemiro, Ugarte in the pivot, Eriksen in the 10. I just wanted us to go toe-to-toe with Fred, because I think that Ugarte and Casemiro, but too late right now. So Danny says, I said it at halftime, we're going to concede because how lazy Dalot and Rashford were in the first half. Danny says, Dalot was clean through, could squared Højlund earlier, and he waited for Rashford. I think there was something going on since last season with Dalot, Rasmus. I have a feeling they fell out. It's a problem with pretty much all of our players, attackers, fullbacks, whatever, in the final third. And that final ball is just never what it needs to be. It's either too late, it's a shot when it should have been a pass, it's a pass that's too sloppy. It's just that final bit of quality has been lacking. And you're going to get that a little bit when it comes to like the young players like Garnacho or like Ahmad or even Højlund. They're young. The one consistent thing you're going to get with youngsters is inconsistency. That's just facts. The problem is that because of that, because we have younger attackers, younger players who need time to kind of hone that aspect of their game, where are the goals going to come from? Where is that final bit of quality going to come from? We can't afford. We're not in a place right now as a club. Ten Hag's really not in a place right now as a manager where he can afford to have to wait for these players to kind of get that consistency to that part of their game. We need players who are going to make those decisions more consistently in those moments. And right now we're just not seeing it, and it's struggling. We're struggling with goals because of it. Second half, and you knew that Jose Mourinho was going to come out swinging in the second half, and sure enough, like, where were any of our defenders for in the series equalizer? That ball got put in way too easily. Lindelof doesn't even like try to do anything about it. Licha's trying to cover as well. He's wrong side of his defender, but that's Lindelof's man. No one tries to clear that ball whatsoever. No one even makes an attempt to clear that ball. And we just didn't come out of the dressing room switched on, which is frustrating because we've seen that we can do that. I just said the other day, like, it's frustrating because we came out of the second half against Brentford strong, and we can't do that consistently. It's so frustrating. Then we made subs, and honestly, those first subs that Ten Hag made should have been how we lined up to start the match. You know, Lindelof came off, Xerxes came off. We moved Eriksen to the 10, Casemiro came on, Højlund came on, Mazraoui went back to the left back, and that's how we should have started the match. And it's no coincidence that when we made those changes that we started to get a little bit more control. Then Jose gets himself sent off after throwing a fit over a complete non-penalty. If that was honestly, if that was awarded a penalty, that would have almost pushed me over the edge in terms of just not watching football. The game is gone if you're giving penalties for things like that. Darkro, Patrick, what's up, my guys? Welcome to the channel, guys. Get your thoughts in on the match we're talking about. We're just going through some of the highlights. We just finished up the first half. We're going through second half a little bit. Darkro says he complicates things for a reason. He wants the sackage. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to get sacked. I mean, I don't feel bad if he does. He's going to get paid like 17 million, but it is what it is. And then, like Danny's saying, there's such a wasted chance by Dalot in like the 60th minute. He's getting the ball. He's in a really good position. We've got three players. Højlund is available. Rashford's wide open. And his pass is just, out of all those options that Dalot could have picked out, he picks the worst option. And I've said this time and time again about Dalot. His final ball, more often than not, is just so poor. And he can't do that. He needs to spend like a whole week in training just working on the final ball in various situations, whether it's crosses from the byline, whether it's crosses from deep, whether it's situations like that, picking out the right man, putting the ball where it needs to be. Dalot can't. It's like when you play, like if you ever watch American football, I was just telling Justin about this the other day, when it comes to passing to people, and you have to put it where players are going to be. You can't put it where players are, because by the time it gets there, they're not going to be there anymore. You're watching any quarterback in American football throwing a cross or a post or something, they put the ball into space, and Dalot puts it like nowhere. His final ball is just not improved. So Darko says that's a pen. If that's a pen in the Premier League, then game's gone. I can't watch that anymore. Like, it's getting that's not okay if we're giving pens for stuff like that. There was literally, like, it wasn't even a kick. It was the plant foot, and it happened to touch the guy. Like, there's no way that the player was injured. There's no way it deserved any of that reaction. There's no way he should have been laying on the ground that long. There's no way he should have been limping around like Bukayo Saka getting subbed off. There's no reason for any of that. Danny says, I thought he was going to shoot himself when Dalot went clean through. He should have just lashed that with his left foot. It could have spilled to Højlund if it came off the keeper. It could have gone anywhere. There were three other players in the box that could have swept that up had it gotten a deflection or a block. So it's got some weak clearances in the second half. We kind of started to slow down a little bit. We were getting pressure. We were sustaining waves of pressure, but we just never really got a good foot to it. We just kept weakly trying to pass it to each other, pass it out, and it just went straight to a Fenerbahce player time and time again. Had another wasted chance from Garnacho around the 70th minute. Højlund and Casemiro did really well to win the ball back in Fenerbahce's half in that moment. And again, Garnacho, it's just a weak effort. Then Rashford came off for Antony in the 73rd minute. Don't get that at all. I know some people in the chat have been saying Rashford wasn't doing well. I think Rashford was having to do the job of Xerxes and having to do the job of Dalot for pretty much the entire match until Xerxes went off. And I think that took away a lot from his game. I've said it before, that concept called the O principle. It asserts that a player's deficiencies, they are multiplied. They are not just added. And so when you've got a player like Xerxes who is struggling in so many aspects of the game, it affects all of his teammates. And so now we're seeing Rashford's qualities diminish because he's got to do what Xerxes is doing. And when Dalot is caught out of position, not tracking back, and Rashford's got to do that, everything about Rashford is taken out of the equation in these moments because he's having to do the job of other two players because they're not doing it. It's a problem. Danny says bringing on Antony was a joke. Bringing on Antony was a joke, and I don't really like Ten Hag's response to that, and we're going to talk about that a little bit too. It just, again, it just wasn't happening for Rashford, but I don't think that's necessarily down to him being poor. I think it was just ineffective because of what he's having to do for other players. I thought Højlund had a chance to play in Garnacho in the 76th minute. That didn't go well. Again, it's just the final ball is just lacking right now. And a bit of patience, like I said, is required because the players are so young, but we're not in a place where we can afford to be that patient. I'm not putting this on the players. I'm just saying, like, this was by design to have so many young players and stuff. Whether that's down to finances or recruitment or whatever it is, it was like with Arsenal complaining about trusting the process and having a young squad. It was by design. And so you shoot yourselves in the foot in that regard. And I think that without a clinical goal scorer, which Højlund is, but he's still young, so it's not going to be clinical on a consistent basis, this is what we're going to struggle. And why in the actual hell did we not put that last free kick into the box with the final seconds for fuck's sake? What the hell was Licha doing passing that back to Onana? What did he think was going to happen there? I absolutely lost my shit when that happened. I was fuming. You guys let me know how you feel about that decision, because that was just shit decision making. And quite frankly, just another drop in the ocean of all the shit decision making that we saw yesterday. Darkro says the match was already lost when Mourinho's mind games affected Ten Hag's lineup. Just lucky we came out with a point. Danny says, would have dropped Rashford in 10 with Rasmus out, Hamad on the right. Can't back him anymore. Always said I give him till Halloween. It's a struggle. So those are some of the highlights from the match. I want to talk about my 3 points, my 3 takeaways right now. Oops. Let me just switch this over. You guys don't forget to get your thoughts in and everything as we keep going. But so number 1, questionable team selection. And I'm being as diplomatic and as kind as I can right now with my word choice. Questionable team selection. Questionable being the careful word here. Again, when the starting 11 was announced, it raised a few eyebrows, and with good reason. Mazraoui started in the 10, like I said, which was just odd to me. I know Ten Hag said ahead of time that Mazraoui's played there before, but was the plan to play him there to keep a midfielder on the bench in case we needed one? Like, I just didn't get that. Again, another instance of let's focus on getting the match and getting in a good position rather than trying to always plan for every single what if moment. Nobody wins when you play the what if game. Let me tell you that right now. I definitely would have put Eriksen in the 10. There are a lot of options you could have put in the 10. I've seen people say Ahmad, Danny saying maybe even Rashford. But I would have preferred to see Casemiro and Ugarte start. We could have always made some changes. We could have always put Mazraoui in the 6 or switched to a back 3 or whatever. You could have done a lot of different things if you needed to. But starting the match like you're already having to make those adjustments, kind of like what Darke is saying, maybe Mourinho was already getting into his head. I don't know. But it just didn't. It was just dumb. Licha thrown in at left back again. Lindelof playing center back. And Lindelof was largely at fault for En-Nesyri's equalizer. We know that Lindelof is not physical. He's not really athletic when it comes to getting in the air. We've seen him, like, I remember a match against Crystal Palace like 3 or 4 seasons ago. Palace keeper kicked a long ball and Lindelof was just out-muscled by like Ayew, and it led to a counterattacking goal. Lindelof is not good in those situations. I don't know what the plan was to put him. I would actually prefer Licha in those situations in Lindelof, because Licha is a bit more aggressive, takes the initiative, he is more physical. So Ten Hag plays a center back out of position, a right back out of position, instead of playing a ball-carrying attacker who has played 10, or even Eriksen, who, again, created the most chances with 4. Why are you continuing to not start Ahmad is such a frustration for me. And I don't get why Ten Hag dropped Højlund either. Again, this isn't the time to do that. Højlund's in good form. Play him. I get that he probably wants Xerxes to get minutes, but this wasn't the game for that. Xerxes did do well in that one moment to find Eriksen, but overall, he was just atrocious. He couldn't pick a pass, couldn't control the ball, he didn't press, he couldn't win his duels. He's basically just didn't impact the game at all. A front 2 of Xerxes and Mazraoui just was not working, and again, it left Rashford with a lot of work to do to make up for it. It was no coincidence that we looked better once Eriksen moved to the 10, Mazraoui was moved back to left back, and Casemiro came on. Basically, just a proper 11. I think Paul Scholes hit it on the head before kickoff when he looked at that and said, Ten Hag isn't in a position right now to rest players. Play your best team. And I've said it before, Ten Hag will keep or lose his job on the back of decisions like these and the results that come from it. And he knows it. So I don't know what his thinking is there. It just was an unnecessary risk to take in a period where we need points. It just didn't seem like the smart decision. And clearly it didn't work out. It's one of those where, if it works, if we win, it's a masterclass, right? But if it doesn't come off, then the knives are out. And that's what's happening. What are you guys saying here? Danny says 100. The Antony sub with the injury bullshit cost us 8 to 9 minutes before injury time. I was so pissed. Lindelof was pure poo. Yeah, Lindelof is just, it almost was, I know he was linked with Fenerbahce. It was like he was playing for Fenerbahce already last night. But you guys let me know what you felt about the team selection, what you felt about the substitutions, what would you have done differently, because I was not happy with it whatsoever. Let's move on to now. From the thumbnail, does this mean Ahmad is gone in the summer? A lot of us have been screaming for Ahmad to get more minutes, especially late on last season. Ahmad has looked very, very good whenever he's played, which has not been frequently enough this season, in my opinion. But yet, not only does Ten Hag opt to play a fullback in the 10 when Ahmad has played in the 10, but now when it comes time to make a sub on the wing, he brings on Antony ahead of Ahmad. Watching Mizraoui take over for Bruno, who was suspended, must have been a kick in the nuts for Ahmad. You've played again at Sunderland. He's played it as a 10 dozens of times. And if the right back takes that position ahead of you, like something's wrong. Again, time to change attackers. Antony comes on, and again, another kick in the nuts. Like, we got the left nut, let's kick the right one now with these decisions, right? Ten Hag stated that he wanted to reward Antony's hard work in training and give him some minutes. Antony must be fucking prime Ronaldo in training to deserve that, because I don't give a flying fuck what you look like in training. I care if you try and if you show up, Sancho, but it doesn't translate onto the pitch. It doesn't matter. You have to wonder too, though, like, would Ahmad have seen any minutes at all if Antony hadn't picked up that injury late on in like the 87th, 88th minute? It just didn't it seemed like Ahmad was part of the plan, and it looked like that not only from that reactionary decision to the injury, but just from his body language on the bench to his facial expression when he was coming on. We saw Ruud and Rene Haka basically just doing everything they could to cheer him up, because he did not look happy waiting to come on to sub on. It just something's off there. And like I said, I think Ahmad's gone in the summer if Ten Hag is still here. I said in my preview that I would have started Rashford and Garnacho purely because of their recent form, and I hold to that because they've both been in good form. But how does Antony get in ahead of Ahmad? Before last night, Ahmad hadn't played since Porto, where he was excellent. If you remember that match, he had 100% pass accuracy. I think it was like 24, 25 passes. He created 3 chances in that match. Like, he was excellent. I don't get it. So what happened? Was Ten Hag's comment about Antony's performances in training, was that like a message to Ahmad? Has he not been training well? We know that Ten Hag values training. Maybe Ahmad is still carrying a little something after pulling out of international duty, but then his body language and his facial expression suggests that he's just fine. Or maybe it's Ten Hag stubbornly sticking to his favorites, like we've kind of accused him of doing since he arrived. Darko says Eric Ten Hag out. In any case, it's a shame that it takes an injury for Antony to Antony for Ahmad to get minutes. It's a shame that that's probably the only way he's going to get minutes now, just from what we've seen from his treatment. Saw Antony going off in a boot and crutches, so that's probably him out for a little while. I don't think that we've got the scans back, so I'm not sure what that was. Maybe he rolled his ankle, maybe he sprained his ankle. I don't know. It looked like just kind of his ankle took a bit of a wobble when he was playing that pass. So hopefully it's not what I had back in May when I tore a ligament in my foot when I rolled my ankle pretty badly, because that was 2 months of just nothing. I couldn't even walk for a couple of weeks. That was fun. But Ahmad's got to be fuming with a limited role like he had last season. And again, we could probably assume that's him gone this summer, unless Ten Hag is sacked. I think if I'm Ahmad, I'm getting my agent knocking on Ten Hag's door or Ineos's door or whoever's door. And if nobody answers, then I'm having him reach out to other clubs, because this can't continue. The guy has been playing a bit part role behind someone like Antony, and that's not great. And I'm not saying I'm in the know when it comes to his agent reaching out, but I mean, would you want to stay in this situation if you were Ahmad? You guys let me know your thoughts on that, but I was not happy with that at all. Number 3. This leaves us with a huge hill to climb. We're not doing well Europa League. We're not doing well in the Premier League, obviously. We're not helping ourselves with the way we've been playing, with the way we're lining up, with the subs, anything, the decisions. This puts us in 21st place in the Europa League with just 3 points after 3 matches. We haven't lost, so you can kind of spin it that way if you want to. But we are just 6 points off the top spots-ish, with, I think, the top 3 teams. I think Lazio, Spurs, and I forget who else. They all are only on 9 points. So we're only 6 points off that, kind of similar to like the Premier League. I read a stat that we haven't won a game in Europe in a year now, in a calendar year, which not great, not a good look. This is also the first time since the early 80s that we've had a run of 6 winless matches in Europe. So in any case, we need to start winning Europa League matches, and I mean now, immediately. We have just 5 matches in Europa League to play. 3 of those matches are away, which we don't travel very well, right? But that's just 15 points left for us to play for, a total of possibly just 18 out of 24 points, which on its face is not bad. 18 to 24 points over 8 games is not a horrible point total, but I don't like being in a position where we're relying on other teams to lose, and that's kind of where we are. Add to that our goal differential in Europa League right now is 0. Surprise, surprise. And I'm not optimistic about our chances of qualifying. I know the bookies had us as second favorites to qualify, second favorites to win. I haven't looked at the odds since, but I can't imagine it's still like that. We have got the difficult Europa League matches out of the way. The Porto and the Fenerbahce match, on paper, you can maybe argue Rangers, but I don't really rate Rangers too highly. But I think that the Porto and the Fenerbahce matches, when the draw came out, to me were the most tricky ones, and we've got those out of the way, and we didn't lose. So again, you can kind of take a little bit of a positive from that, and you hope that, and you think maybe we'll be able to make up a lot of ground with the remaining matches, because some of these teams are just not great teams. But nothing is guaranteed in football, except for United frustrating the hell out of us, right? Danny, what are we saying here? I agree, Darko 100. I jumped on that train officially yesterday after the Anthony substitution. I always said give him till Halloween, but can't back this shit anymore. It's not looking great, y'all. On the Europa League, though, it is a huge hill for us to climb if we want to turn things around. And honestly, I don't just mean in the Europa League. We have just 1 win in our last 7 matches in all competitions, which is not a good look. There haven't been that many draws. I think the Spurs match was the only draw, right? But loss. But it's starting to feel like, you guys remember what we were like under Louis van Gaal. It's just draw. Draws are not great. We had so many draws that one season. It was 10 or 11 draws. That's not great. And in a period of 3 matches, 3 draws is 3 points. You can get a win and 2 losses and get the same amount of points in those 3 matches. That's 22 points dropped in the 10, 11 match span of draws. That's not good. That's not sustainable results. And the performances would say it's not sustainable football either. We're also heading into a very busy fixture schedule in the next couple weeks, with a match every few days with the League Cup, Europa League, Premier League. It's going to get congested, and so it's not going to get any easier. Does anybody see us? Do you guys see us navigating through these fixtures and coming out the other side with anywhere near maximum points? I don't. Who do we have? We have Leicester. I wouldn't even bet money that we are a sure shot against Leicester right now. So not only does tenhag need to figure out a way to ascend that Europa League mountain, but he's below sea level right now when it comes to the performances, when it comes to decisions, when it comes to results. So that leaves Erik ten Hag with a fight just to get back to neutral, let alone start climbing that mountain right now. So you guys let me know what you thought of the Europa League so far, what you see going forward with these last 5 matches. 3 of them was away. What do you see us getting from the next couple of weeks of this busy fixture schedule? Do you guys see it turning around anytime soon? You guys let me know, because we are going to cruise right along here and talk about, see what Erik ten Hag has had to say after the match. So speaking after the match, Erik ten Hag apparently thought it was a good game. He says it was a good game. 2 good teams, both went for the win. I don't think we went for a win. He said we want to win, and when you're up 1-0 in a tough game after the first half, we have control and we have some good chances. Then you concede a goal like we did. That feels bad. That feels bad. Fucking hell. He says the first ball was played in our block. That cannot happen. That one cross has come in and then a goal. It shouldn't happen. No, it shouldn't. But why is it happening? That's what I want to know. Says we missed some big opportunities, like the one where it was brilliant play on the right side, and then the final pass from Dalot for Rashford wasn't quite there. It should be a goal. It should be a goal. He says we should have won this game, but in the end, we know it's a tough atmosphere here. I'm not hearing the atmosphere bullshit. The atmosphere doesn't cause Dalot to miss those chances. The atmosphere doesn't cause Lindelof to just not even try to win a cross. The atmosphere doesn't have anything to do with that shit. He says from 2 tough away games against Porto, we take 2 points. Now we have 2 games at Old Trafford. We have to win if we want to progress in Europe. Like, no shit, Sherlock. He says Onana's saves were unbelievable. 2 saves from Andre in the first half. They were unbelievable. We know he's capable. We saw there that he's a great keeper. It's about time, Onana. I mean, Onana has made some good saves. It's about time we're seeing him do that more consistently, because that was my big criticism of Onana, especially last year, was his shot stopping. And he's improved. I'll give him that. But some of the way he dallies on the ball and is a little too slow to launch an attack, that's still frustrating to me. And I don't like the way he just doesn't command his area, but that's a personal thing for me. That's just something I want from my keepers. On Ugarte's block, which again was brilliant. He says there was also one on the counterattack where Ugarte made a great save on the goal line. It was also such a moment which showed the determination in this team. It's hard to beat our team. It's definitely not hard to beat our team, but we have to take more chances. When you want to be really successful, when you are coming into the scoring position, if you want to win more games, you have to score more. So if you want to win games, you have to score, apparently, according to Erik ten Hag. Like, again, thank you, Captain Obvious. So in an interview immediately after the whistle, ten Hag made a few comments as well that I think that could be interpreted as basically completely deflecting from any of his own responsibility or his own managerial mistakes. The interviewer brought up the stat of how many times we've dropped points after being in the lead. The last 4 away games in Europe, we've had the lead 6 times, but we failed to win each match. And on this, ten Hag basically said the team needs to learn more game management. He said, too, that we have young players, but a mistake like today shouldn't happen. He says, when you take 2 points at Porto and Fenerbahce, it shows we are a team that's hard to beat. Honestly, kind of like what Danny's saying, like, it's just getting harder and harder to defend the guy. At least he didn't bring up trophies, so that's a plus, right? But, like, you can't just blame the fact that you keep dropping leads and not coming away with wins on game management, on your players. You can't blame the young players. Like, it's part of it, yes, but it's up to you to figure out a solution to those kind of problems. It's up to him to manage. People forget, like I tell this all the time, like parent. People forget that parent is a verb. Managers sometimes forget that manage is a verb. You have to actually manage the situation, manage the team, manage tactics, manage the game. It's not on the players always to come up with solutions. You have to drill that into them. You have to just manage. I don't know how else to say it. This was one of those games where, again, like if you watch the preview, we've spoken about it over the month since the league phase was announced. One of those games where I wasn't super confident of a result going in, but then as the second half especially rolled on, like I thought we were more than good enough on the day to get 3 points as the game went on. But again, like I predicted in the preview, it was a boring 1-1 draw. And it was boring. The stats, there was no standout. The stats were pretty much identical. In the first half, Fenerbahce had 60%. In the second half, we had, so it evens out. We had pretty much the same in, possession on just an opposite half. So, but that's where my concern is coming from. That's where my frustration is coming from. We were identical. We're pretty much on the same level on the day as Fenerbahce, which, no offense, that shouldn't be the case for Manchester United. We shouldn't be proud to get a draw at Fenerbahce. We shouldn't, and I'm not just saying that like we're Man United, like that whole ethos. I'm saying the players we have, the quality we have, the way that we've seen that we can play at times, not consistently, but the way we have, we shouldn't do this. And then, like I said, the way we were playing, especially in that second half when we turned it on a little bit, we should have gotten 3 points. It's just shit decision-making, not being switched on. Add to that the fact that we struggled against the 2 midfielders that we didn't think were good enough for United in Fred and Amrabat, and it's not a good look. It wasn't just not good enough. And it hasn't been good enough this season, period. we're regressing. And I know people have been saying like, well, they looked at 8th place last year and like, see, we're going backwards. I told you so. Like, but when I say we're regressing, this isn't just about finishing 8th last year. It's not about where we are in the table right now. This is about the individual results, because the individual match results are getting worse and worse. We went from getting a couple wins here and there, and then, yes, a couple losses here and there. So now it's just draw, 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 loss, one win, draw, draw. Like, the results themselves are just, they're getting worse, and they're getting consistently worse. We're not able to string together any wins at all. And there's nothing really that shows me that that's going to improve. You guys let me know if I'm way off base there, but sounds like you guys are, a lot of us are kind of moving into that tenhag out stuff. It's not good enough. We've got a match this weekend against West Ham, who are going to be missing a key player. So I will be back tomorrow probably to do the preview, maybe today, depending on when that press conference goes out. So could be again this afternoon. Joel Pauline, welcome, bud. Good. How you doing, my guy? He says Sunday is going to be interesting. Interesting is a nice way to put it. Hopefully I won't have to sing my song again on that match reaction, but you guys let me know. Be sure to come back for the preview of that match. You guys get your final thoughts in. Let's see what you guys saying. Welcome, Joel, says Danny B. Yeah, that was not great. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for stopping by. Danny, Darkhold, Joel popping in, Patrick, Justin, of course, popping in. Don't forget to like the video on the way out. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are, again, on that road to 2K. And if you do want to get $5 off your order when you register at GoGoalShop, check the link in the video description. My boy Dylan already did it. Got $5 off his new long sleeve blue strip from this year. It's awesome. Joel, am I coming on Sunday? That is the plan, barring any last minute changes. I'm probably going to be hanging out with some people to watch the Classico tomorrow as well. So it's going to be a busy weekend, but that is the plan. So I will see you there, my guy. You all remember Joel from the all-time starting 11 video. Big up there. So thanks again, guys, for stopping by. Like the video, subscribe. Try to enjoy the rest of your day if you can. I know it's hard to, but this is why I do the match reaction 24 hours later. So we've all had a chance to sleep on it, get some of those negative feels out of the way. So I will talk to you guys on the next one. And as always, thank you for stopping by and getting your thoughts in. I'll see you later.